Hi there, I'm Leora. My parents took my business idea, the one I spent years building, and handed it to my sister like it was a family favor. No warning, no credit, just gone. Then they told me I was selfish for speaking up. It started with a pitch I trusted them with, and ended in court. But what hurt more than the betrayal was realizing they never saw me as their daughter, just a product they could repurpose. I had just finished heating up leftover pasta when Mom called. She asked if I had time for dinner at home. I almost said no, but something about her tone, sweet, careful, got to me. So I drove over. The house smelled the same: garlic, fabric softener, guilt. We sat around the dining table. Carla poured wine like we were celebrating something. Ronald barely looked at me, but asked vague questions about my latest project. They never really asked before. This time, it felt like they were taking notes. "How does this life vault thing even make money?" Dad asked, voice casual but tight. I remember smiling, just a bit. "It's not about the money yet. It's about building trust. For women, privacy-first security." Carla nodded too quickly. "That's very noble of you, sweetie. Aileen always said you're the quiet genius in the family." That should have made me proud, but it felt rehearsed. 2 nights later, I was at work, eating at my desk. I checked Instagram to distract myself from the spreadsheet crawling across my screen, and then I saw it. Aileen, my sister, her smiling face under a caption that turned my stomach. "Proud to announce the launch of my tech startup Life Vault, empowering women to protect what matters. #cybertech #female-ed." My heart didn't drop. It clenched. Same name, same platform. Even the font I designed. I stared at her post for a full minute before calling Carla. She picked up fast, too fast. "What's going on?" I asked. "Why is Aileen using my startup name, my work?" A pause. Then that syrupy voice again. "Don't overreact, honey. Your sister's been through so much. She just needs a win right now." "You gave her my work." Dad's voice cut in from the background. "She's your sister. You know how hard it's been for her. You're doing great. Can't you just be happy for her?" I didn't hang up. I let silence say what I couldn't. Then I ended the call. That night, I logged into my cloud account. Download logs showed Dad's email had accessed my prototype folders. 2 days ago. I wasn't just betrayed, I was studied. All those years, part-time jobs, coding at 2 a.m., skipping vacations, skipping people, while Aileen backpacked through Europe on their dime. I was never the daughter, I was the worker. I opened LinkedIn. Aileen's new title gleamed on her profile: Founder and CEO, Life Vault. She even used the same tagline I wrote in my pitch deck. I didn't cry, I didn't yell. I stared at her photo until my jaw ached from clenching. I sat still for a long time, letting the weight of it all settle in my chest like wet cement. Then I stood, grabbed my coat, and stepped into the cold. The air bit at my cheeks, but it kept me alert, focused. I wasn't going to sleep, not yet. The car ride to my parents' house felt longer than usual. Maybe because I knew this wasn't a visit. It was a confrontation. I didn't knock. I walked right in, still had a key they never asked for back. The TV was on. Carla was folding laundry on the couch. Ronald sat across from her, scrolling through his phone like none of this had happened. She looked up. "Sweetheart, what are you doing here so late?" I held my phone out to her, screen glowing with Aileen's post. "Tell me this is a joke." Ronald sighed like I was inconveniencing him. "Leora, she's had a rough year. You've always been the stable one. You'll bounce back." "Bounce back?" I almost laughed. "You gave her my company, my idea, my pitch deck. She's using my code." Carla placed the towel down and crossed her arms. "We didn't give her anything. We supported her, and we supported you, for years. We made sacrifices so you could be who you are. You wouldn't be in tech if we didn't feed you, house you." I cut her off. "You fed me so I could feed her." Ronald stood, voice harder now. "Watch your tone. We did what parents do. Now it's your turn to give back." "By letting you hand over the only thing I built for myself?" "Don't be dramatic," Carla said, lips pursed. "She's your sister. She needs this. You're going to make her feel like a thief now?" "She is a thief," I said, eyes locked on her. "And so are you." Her expression shifted. Hurt, then indignation, then something colder. You should be proud she's finally stepping up. Why ruin her moment? I took a breath so I wouldn't scream. You know exactly what you did, and I'm not going to pretend this is okay just to keep the peace. Carla's voice softened in that fake, pitying way. You've always been intense, honey. Maybe this is just one of your phases. That's when I knew they weren't going to admit anything. They didn't even believe they'd done anything wrong. That was the worst part. I didn't bother saying goodbye. I walked out and didn't look back. By the time I got home, it was nearly midnight. The apartment was quiet, but Luna greeted me with her usual tail-thumping excitement. I rubbed behind her ears, whispered a thank you I hadn't planned to say. I poured a glass of water, sat at my desk, and opened my laptop. I clicked New Document. The cursor blinked against the blank screen like it was daring me to begin. But before I could write a word, a notification popped up on my phone. Someone had tagged Aileen in a new post. I clicked out of reflex, thinking it might be another fake interview or press feature. It was worse. A GoFundMe. Help support Aileen's tech dream, it read in bold letters. Below it, a photo of her smiling in front of a whiteboard I recognized from my old mock-ups. But it wasn't the campaign that made my jaw tighten. It was who had organized it. Dorothea, my dad's sister. She had written, "This is what happens when talent meets purpose, and family steps up to help." The gall. Dorothea had never once reached out to ask what I was working on, but I remembered her hovering behind me last Christmas, pretending to admire my tree while her eyes locked onto my open laptop. I'd brushed it off then. Now I couldn't. I clicked through the list of donors, names I hadn't seen in months. A cousin, an uncle, even a former babysitter. And not one of them had texted me, not even a comment like, "Hey, is this the same life vault you were working on?" I texted my cousin Janine. Simple. "Hey, just wondering, did you know Aileen's project is based on mine?" No response. That night, I joined a Zoom call for Grandma's birthday. Everyone smiled, laughed, shared stories. But not one person asked how I was doing. I wasn't invisible. I was being ignored. The next morning, I woke up to find I had been removed from the family Facebook group. No explanation, no warning, just gone. They didn't need to say anything cruel. Silence was sharper. I started documenting. Screenshots of donation lists, shares, likes, public praise under Aileen's post with comments like, "So proud of you, girl," and "You're finally coming into your own." She hadn't come into anything. She'd taken it. I stopped texting people, stopped replying. I changed every password tied to family emails, shut down shared accounts. I revoked access to the shared Netflix they still used under my name. I was done handing out pieces of myself. And still, no one asked why. I printed the GoFundMe campaign and taped it to the wall beside my desk. I grabbed a sticky note and wrote 4 words in thick black ink. Fraud is still fraud. I stepped away from the wall, the GoFundMe printout fluttering slightly from the draft under the window. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like record-keeping. I was done waiting for someone else to make this right. So I opened my browser, pulled up the back end of my old prototype hosting platform, and went looking. Every log, every IP, every access attempt. And there it was, Ronald's IP address pinging my files 2 days before Aileen's announcement. Then came the texts. Group messages from Carla I'd saved without really reading before. One stuck out now, sent 3 nights ago. So proud of Aileen finally having a platform to shine. It wasn't praise, it was confession. The next morning, I drove across town to the law school. I didn't use my real name at the check-in desk, just my initials. It wasn't about hiding, it was about controlling the story. I spoke to a volunteer attorney. She was in her 30s, sharp eyes, no fluff. I laid it all out, timelines, screenshots, prototypes, even the GoFundMe. She listened without interrupting, then finally said, "You've got enough here to pursue misappropriation, trade secret infringement, possibly even fraud, depending on where the money went." That was all I needed. I walked out with a list of documents to gather and a date to file. That night, I typed a single message in the family group chat. "This is no longer a family matter. You've misused my intellectual property. You'll be hearing from me, officially." It was quiet for 5 minutes. Then Carla responded, "How dare you threaten us after all we've done for you?" I replied without hesitation. You didn't build me. You stole from me. No one responded after that. I printed everything out, emails, timestamps, screenshots, and placed them into a yellow envelope. In bold black letters I wrote, "Confidential." At sunrise, I drove to the FedEx drop box a few blocks from my apartment. The air was cold and still. I didn't hesitate. I let the envelope slide from my fingers into the steel box. By noon, I was back at my desk, answering emails when my phone buzzed 3 times in a row. First message was a link. Second said, "Isn't this your sister?" Third, "This is messed up." I clicked. Aileen was on TikTok, fake tears pooling under lashes she probably had done for the video. Her voice was shaky, rehearsed. I spent years building this. I just want to help people. But now, someone is trying to destroy everything I've worked for, just because we share blood. Caption read, "Blood isn't always thicker than ambition. #sister sabotage. #female founders. #protect women in tech." It already had 68,000 views. Comments were pouring in. Strangers calling me toxic, ungrateful, selfish. I didn't realize I was holding my breath until the pressure in my chest forced it out. "They flipped the script," I muttered, "and people bought it." By late afternoon, I had 3 investor emails in my inbox. 2 paused funding, 1 backed out entirely. Reddit threads popped up, screenshots of my old blog, conspiracies about me swooping in to ruin Aileen's brand. "And Carla?" she commented under the video. "Proud of you for staying strong, sweetie." They didn't need the truth. They needed a victim, and they handed my face to the wolves. But I wasn't going to beg for grace. I opened Twitter, typed slow, checked every word. I didn't lose my startup. It was taken, and now it's being painted as charity. Be careful who you call family. I hit post. In under an hour, it hit 15K likes. A few ex-coworkers shared it. One commented, "I remember the prototypes. This is hers." It didn't change everything, but it cracked the illusion. That night, I stepped out to take Luna for a walk. When I got back, something was taped to my apartment door. A printed sheet, black and white. Dozens of TikTok comments, calling me every name in the book. I didn't flinch. I pulled it down, folded it in half, and walked straight to my desk. Picked up the phone, dialed. The phone call didn't last long, just enough to give the green light. By morning, it was everywhere. Not from me, from Carla. A piece in the local paper titled, "When Your Child Turns Against the Family." She shared it across every group, every Facebook page that still tolerated her voice. She wrote about my emotional volatility, how I had grown distant and resentful, and how Aileen had done nothing but try to bring the family closer through innovation. Then came Ronald's quote at the bottom. Just one line. "We supported both girls. We didn't expect to be repaid with lawsuits." It wasn't just damage control. It was a hit job, carefully wrapped in motherly disappointment and public sorrow, strategic, calculated, cruel. What broke me wasn't the article. It was seeing it reposted by people who once said I was the smart one. Later that day, I received an email from a friend in the startup community. "You see this?" Attached was a screenshot, Aileen's face on a tech blog. She'd been nominated for a statewide award in women-led innovation. The caption read, "The new face of ethical cybersecurity." I couldn't stop staring. Not out of jealousy, not anymore, but because it proved something. They weren't just erasing me, they were replacing me. So I stopped reading, dressed in black, drove downtown, walked into my attorney's office with everything I had, proof, code, statements. I signed every page without flinching, filed a formal complaint for IP theft and misrepresentation. That same evening, I uploaded a press release through my official site. Just facts. No heat, no theatrics. Miss Leora M. is pursuing legal action for misappropriation of proprietary software, branding, and media use associated with the LifeVault product suite. I didn't need to yell. I just needed to be clear. At 8:14 p.m., my attorney texted, "It's filed. Expect noise by Monday." I stood by the window, watching traffic blur below. The air was cold enough to sting. Back at my desk, I reopened the pinned document, the one I started the night this all began, and at the very top, I typed one more line. "You can steal the name, but I own the story." I woke early that morning, the kind of alertness that doesn't come from sleep but from necessity. I dressed like I was attending a funeral, because in a way, I was. The funeral of their version of me. The courthouse smelled of old paper and cold tile. I walked in alone, folder in hand. No entourage, no cameras, just my truth. Aileen arrived 10 minutes later, flanked by Carla, Ronald, and Dorothea. They looked like they were headed to a benefit gala. Tailored outfits, dramatic scarves, not a single wrinkle in sight. I didn't look at them. I looked at the judge. Aileen's lawyer went first. "She's a visionary," he said. "This is a smear campaign by a jealous sibling who couldn't handle being outshined." Ronald nodded solemnly. Carla clutched a tissue. Dorothea stared daggers. Then it was our turn. My attorney stood, calm and sharp. "This case isn't about hurt feelings. It's about intellectual theft. We have logs. We have timestamps. We have witnesses." Then I took the stand. My palms were dry. My voice didn't shake. I walked the court through my concept, my years of development, the cloud logs, the source code. I read aloud an email to Carla, dated over a year before Aileen's launch. "Mom, here's what I'm building. It's early, but it matters to me." Then I held up a printed copy of Aileen's GoFundMe. Her blurb? Word for word from my pitch deck. Finally, I read one text from Carla that ended any doubt. "Finally, Aileen has something of her own, thanks to your hard work." The room went quiet. Aileen was called up. She smiled too wide. Her voice cracked before the first question ended. "How did you design the encryption protocol for LifeVault's login system?" Her answer came after a pause. I mean, it was a team effort. We were always kind of brainstorming as sisters. More questions, more fumbles, no specifics, just vague inspiration. When asked to produce early design notes, she froze. I thought we were a team, family. Even the judge didn't hide the raised brow. By the time court adjourned for the day, the press had gathered outside. A reporter shoved a mic near me. "Is this about justice or revenge?" I looked straight into the lens. "It's about boundaries." They thought the courtroom would break me. They didn't expect it to set me free. That morning, the courtroom was packed tighter than usual. A hushed buzz floated above the rows of stiff suits and whispering eyes. The judge entered, robe flowing like consequence. He didn't waste time. "This court finds in favor of the plaintiff, Miss Leora M., on all primary counts, including intellectual property misappropriation, defamation, and unauthorized use of proprietary assets." The words echoed louder in my mind than in the room. Aileen was ordered to cease all operations tied to LifeVault, issue a formal retraction, and pay damages. Carla let out a gasp, like the verdict had struck her physically. Ronald stood as if to protest, but the judge shut it down with a single raised hand. Silence again. Outside, cameras flared. Reporters shouted my name. I didn't stop. Carla caught up. "You destroyed your own family," she spat. I looked at her, calm. "No, I just stopped letting it destroy me." Ronald reached for my shoulder. I didn't let him touch me. Back home, I did what needed to be done. Deleted the family group chat, blocked every number, erased shared calendars, cloud access, even the Spotify playlist Carla once called our thing. Then I recorded one final voicemail for her. "We're done. No more explanations, no more guilt. Don't contact me again. Ever. Not revenge. Exit." That evening, as I watched Luna curl up on the couch, my phone buzzed. My attorney's name lit the screen. "The press wants your side. It's your call." I didn't answer right away. I looked out the window instead. The kind of quiet that comes after a storm. Winning didn't fix the past, but it gave me back the future. A week passed before I stepped back into my home office. The court documents were already framed and hung, not as trophies, but as reminders. Right beside them, a whiteboard bloomed with fresh designs. The next version of LifeVault, not a comeback. A continuation. Each morning I brewed my own coffee, not out of routine, but choice. I checked emails from women who had followed my story. Some shared how their ideas had been taken. Some just said thank you. Harlan came by every Sunday without fail. He brought his old tools in a rusted red box and taught me how to build a standing desk from reclaimed oak. "You don't throw away what's solid," he told me, tapping the wood. "You reshape it." We didn't talk about the lawsuit much. He wasn't interested in gossip. He was interested in character. "People think blood makes a family," he said once, handing me a sanding block. "But it's the ones who show up when you're bruised who really count." We'd eat ham sandwiches on the porch afterward, Luna curled up between us, snoring softly. One afternoon, a screenshot found its way to my inbox. Aileen's account had gone dark, but before it did, someone captured her final post. "Taking space, learning things the hard way, please no messages." I didn't feel victory, I felt distance, the clean kind. That same day, an email from Carla slipped past my filter. I didn't even open it, just saw the subject line. "Can we talk?" Delete. Healing didn't mean looking back. It meant planting roots where trust could actually grow. Later that evening, I took Luna to the park. The sun was low and warm. A little girl sat on the grass, holding up a crayon drawing to her mom. She beamed as if she'd painted the sky. I smiled without thinking. I had built something. Not just an app or a case file, but a life. One that no one else got to rewrite. I didn't rebuild what I lost. I built what they said I couldn't. A world where I didn't need their permission to feel whole. Sometimes, the people who raise you are the first to underestimate you. And when that happens, you have two choices. Shrink to fit their version of you, or rise into your own. I used to believe loyalty meant silence, that keeping the peace was more important than being respected. But I've learned, peace that comes at the cost of your self-worth isn't peace at all. It's a slow kind of erasure. I didn't just win a lawsuit, I reclaimed my voice, I rebuilt my dignity, and I'm not telling this story to get even. I'm telling it so someone out there knows. You're not crazy, you're not dramatic, and you don't owe anyone your success just because they share your last name. Maybe you've been there. Maybe you're there right now, feeling gaslit, second-guessed, sidelined by the very people you thought would support you. If that's you, I hope this reminds you that it's not selfish to protect your boundaries. It's survival, and it's strength. Now I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever felt betrayed by someone you loved? And what did you do about it? Drop your story in the comments. Let's talk about it. Let's break the cycle together. And hey, if this video moved you, made you feel seen, or just gave you something to think about, leave a 1 in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from. I read every single one. Didn't vibe with the story? That's okay too. Tell me why and where you're tuning in. And most of all, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next story. There's more truth, more healing, and more real-life courage coming your way. Because this channel, it's not just about stories. It's about starting over with strength. Thanks for watching. I'm Leora, and I'll see you in the next one.